Many NFL teams are starting OTAs this week, and we're going to take a look at the Carolina Panthers, and we're going to get a quick glimpse of their rookie wide receiver, Xavier Legette. We got some clips to look at today. We'll take a look at those. But before we do, you need to click that subscribe button because we're going hard in the paint, looking at these rookies, analyzing them from rookie camp to mini camp to training camp, on top of the veterans. You don't want to miss out on your favorite players. Click that button. Stop missing out. I got a few clips of Xavier Legette here. We'll run through those. Then we'll run through them again, talking ball on him and the Panthers. Here he is, catching some balls and some drills. It's pitch and catch. Pitch and catch will look like pitch and catch, and it sure does. Looks like I got a duplicate. That happens from time to time. And then here's another one. There's him catching it. Thing about Xavier Legette, the Panthers paid up to get him. We all know that. Was not pegged to go in the first round, but they made that happen. And what makes him different compared to a lot of other wide receivers in this year's draft? One is the size. The size for sure. Like, look at him right here. Big, thick wide receiver. This guy also runs in the 4.3s. So this makes him a mismatch nightmare. He's also a guy that needs to develop a little bit more on the route running, creating separation on the breaks. But going back to the Senior Bowl, day 3 in practices, he was really turning it on then. He was really breaking off some routes, making some guys like missing coverage. So he can do it. So maybe with a little bit more development, you're going to get a more polished wide receiver. On top of that, he wasn't asked to do everything at South Carolina. And on top of that, he dealt with injuries and some other issues during his collegiate career. Really elongated his collegiate career as well. But we have a big, fast wide receiver here who the Panthers paid up to get. And when I think about what they did here, and I think about the play, I think they made a boom-bust proposition. And I think when I'm working at wide receiver here and I'm trying to pick up wide receivers, I want a wide receiver that can either like be a cornerstone for my team or nothing at all, instead of a ho-hum wide receiver, who's just considered good, considered a top 30, top 40 guy. Like, you're not going to miss, but you also know that you're not going to get set over the top. The thing about Xavier Legette, when I think about his game, when I think about size-adjusted athleticism, how he wins on the field, and how he could gel in this offense, I think it's going to be all or nothing. I think he can be a top 5, top 20 wide receiver. I think he can be considered a legit guy in the league or nothing. I just do not see him just hanging out in the league as like wide receiver 40, as the 40th best wide receiver, 45th or whatever, even 50 or 30, somewhere in that range, just being a ho-hum wide receiver. I think you're going to get all or nothing, which when you make that play, that is something you're thinking about when you're spending up on that upside, especially in the back end of the first round or early second round, because you'll get some splash candidates there. But also, when you think about that, if you're shooting for upside, you're shooting for upside because you want a cornerstone piece. You also have some other players on the offense to lean on now. But the thing about the Carolina Panthers, though, they're adding some pieces. Bryce Young's going to year 2. We have a new coaching staff, new offense. Things are going to look differently. They added Jonathan Brooks. They're building this offense up, and they're building it up with speed and assertiveness. That being said, I would not be surprised if they exceed expectations a little bit. They look different from last year's Panthers. They should. They're different from last year's Panthers. They got Deontay Johnson there. Bryce Young's going to year 2. You got a big, fast wide receiver here. And I like him a little better than Jonathan Mingo. Jonathan Mingo was a raw, big wide receiver as well, but not as fast, not as assertive. And Xavier Legette was dominant at the Senior Bowl when he really started to get going there. A guy that was really hammering it home in practices, especially day 3. The thing about him, though, you get him on some crossers, you get him in space, he could be a yak monster. And that's something Bryce Young might need. And a guy like that in the outlet for Bryce Young, a guy who's also developing, a guy who's learning a new scheme with new wide receivers, a dude that can turn on the jets and be a yak monster because he's tough to tackle, might be the saving grace for your development, especially when you're a young quarterback like this. A system that's adding weapons constantly throughout the offseason is at least going to hit on some of these guys. So we're getting some new pieces to this offense. We got to see what's going on. Xavier Legette is a big wide receiver who's honestly, when it comes to size adjusted athleticism, he's one of the top wide receivers in the league already. He's got speed to burn. Can we put it together? Can we develop? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. Thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.